My goal was to try and see if the R6 Mark II with the 24 to 240, the cheap kit lens from Canon, is a viable option for someone like me who is on a tight budget but want decent gear. Canon R6 Mark II may not excel in any field, but it checks so many boxes when you look for decent hybrid camera workhorse, and especially it checks the price tag box. With the R6 Mark I, it feels like there was a need of replacing 6D Mark II, so it slowed progress here. R6 Mark II is refreshed, it has up-to-date 24 megapixel images, works for most people. In my opinion, R6 Mark II is a better replacement for 5D Mark IV than it is the EOS R. It also fits super well between R8 as the enthusiast camera and the R5 as a high megapixel camera. We have to mention R3 as well as the high performing sports camera. If you like the resolution, 24 megapixels, you can get 12 frames per second with the mechanical shutter and much more frames with the electronic shutter, I think 20 or so. That's pretty good, right? 12 frames per second with the continuous shooting. I think it's enough for moving animals, kids, or people in sports. Of course, if you're shooting professionally, you probably want more, so you would buy the R3 anyway, or shoot the electronic shutter, but you could get slightly more jewelry images band, you know. Little Bird told me that R6 Mark II is the Canon's most selling camera right now. No surprise, I guess. Well, in sales it may not exceed 5D Mark II, but I see a similar pattern here, because the hybrid side of the camera, up-to-date megapixel count 24, good ergonomics, familiar control dials, buttons, touch functionality that Canon does very well for so long. The viewfinder is pretty good, high resolution. In terms of video, you have 4K 60 with no crop out of full frame sensor, which kind of beats the Sony A7 Mark IV, and the price is competitive as well. All of this indicates it is and will be for many people very good choice for everyday camera. Let's do some pros and cons. The R6 Mark II, as 5Ds previously, has quite a heavy body. It helps in stabilizing shots, though the image stabilizer in body, IBIS, is pretty good. It has like 8 stops. Maybe Olympus has, in combination with some lenses, more, but pro is IBIS. Con is heavier body. Display works great. It's bright enough, no complaints there. In many cases you don't have to shoot C-Log, but good that you have it here. 10-bit, you have it here. Oversampled video, that's a pro as well. 4K 60 without crop, that's a big plus. I think the focusing performance will be dependent on lenses. With the wide angle 16mm, it feels slower than any other lens, though if you want cheap kit, you would probably go for the primes 16, 35, 50. And if you're really enthusiastic about longer focal lengths, try the 70 to 200 if you find good deals, and you'll have everything you need. The point of this video was the cheapest solution with the kit lens, so I have the most versatile lens. The lens, what is it good for? Trips. Since you don't have to switch lenses, you have good reach. Any kind of portraits is okay. When you have 80 or 100 millimeters, it has blurred background. Documentary, video or photo, again, very flexible and everyday shooting. That's good for. What is it not good for? Small animals. It doesn't focus very close. You have to keep slight range. Not good for birds. Why not? Because if you're not close enough, even with 30 meters, which is like, I don't know, 100 feet, guessing, the bird is so small in the image and it's not going to be that super sharp for you to crop it so heavily. Quick action is possible, but with cost of noise. You have to crank up the ISO to see something. Interiors, not for interiors. It's not wide enough. And the dark aperture is not helping there. Anyways, it's slightly bigger, but with the full frame, it's understandable. Until you start pixel peeping, you will probably not notice these things. But when you try to enlarge the image and really examine, you'll see chromatic aberration. In the longer focal length, you'll see it's not that sharp. But for small prints or online use, it's okay. Well, if you're printing on A2s or A0s, like big prints, don't buy this lens, buy the primes. And if you want super sharp images for a little longer end, 100mm macro. That's very sharp lens.
You can record 4K oversampled from 6K, and even though you can record C-Log 3, in my experience I would not use it. With a little effort, you can squeeze out the same image from the standard picture profile. You can also record HLG and 10-bit video, though this is slightly hidden in the menu. I had to ask Canon rep where to find this. I'm not very skilled color gradist, and I have trouble to get nice image out of the C-Log 3, especially when the white balance was set wrongly. I usually grade S-Log 2 or S-Log 3 and they are different. When I apply conversion LUT to C-Log 3, it shows more noise than I expected. After some tweaking of shadows, you can get rid of most of it. In the pictures, the noise is not that visible, and the noise suppression for the JPEGs works quite well. I'm purposefully doing auto exposure and no mic, so you can see if you can hear any sounds of motor that is in the lens. I think you should hear, and it detects one more face, I don't know where. I can show you how it's attached in the car. Yeah, you can have small rig suction cup, somehow attach it to the hot shoe, and we can do small rides so you can see how well it holds up. Before you start rant about how bad this lens is, you have to realize it's just $250. You can't expect miracles for this price, right? So you can see focus breathing. Maybe sometimes the focus is not reliable as would be with more expensive lenses, but anyone can buy this lens. I think we can agree about this. I had it on recognizing people, and it seems like it doesn't work as well as automatic mode. When I switch to automatic mode, it recognizes people much better, the cars as well. So probably don't switch the modes. If you're not like into sports photography, maybe the AI is trained to recognize like athletes with dresses, people with pale colors on them was not recognized. Maybe that's something to explore a little bit more, but automatic mode works pretty good. Lets you choose if it recognizes more objects, you'll see the arrows to choose which object you want to follow. That's good.
Let's compare the 16mm on a full frame and 12mm on a PSC. Okay, let's take out the jiggle. Well, as you can see, It's not that big difference in the controlled environment. There's maybe the autofocus doing something else slightly. What do you say? Huh? Who's better? Because the Sony has Samyang lens and Canon has Canon lens. It should be better, right? Well, you can say your opinion in the comments. Shortly about the body. They upgraded it in a few ways, not just the megapixels, but Mark 1 had on-off switch here. So if you wanted to turn on the camera, you would have to use your left hand. Now they moved it here, so I can turn on the camera with the same hand I'm holding the camera. So that is upgrade. There are slight changes, maybe with some buttons here, but the rest is probably the same. Here's a switch for photo and video. If I want to shoot video in photo mode, I still can use this button. It will shoot as a Sony shooter. I'm kind of missing the multi-dial control thing here. Here's only rotation and a button in the middle. Sony's has also a cross button here, so you can use it as joystick as well. And there are also options to program to use this part. Anyways, it feels very familiar, not just for Canon shooter, but for someone who had DSLRs. Of course, there's the flip out screen. 5D never had it. So this is upgrade. So you can shoot yourself or shoot like this. And for the video, it's better for stabilizing your hands as well, if you have it on your body. Only complaint, I think the menu button could be somewhere else, but that's my complaint with any Canon body. But probably if you go to menu, you will stop doing whatever and use both hands to control the camera. If you know, please comment. There are two holes here. I'm not sure if it is like air cooling, but I don't know why are they here. Please let me know. Otherwise, I think there are like everything that you can expect. The remote control, headphones, output, mic input, micro HDMI, and USB-C for charging and webcam. I don't know why they stopped using the HDMI mini. That was much better connector. Why not use the big HDMI? I think the license would be the same for that. Maybe it's the resolution that is not supported in the minis, just the micros. I don't know, my guess. Classic old style opening shaft for cards. It pisses me off in any Canon that the camera will shut off when you open it. XF605 does it as well. When you have the camera prepared on a tripod, you open the shaft and the camera shuts off. Why? So how would I rate this camera? The design, I think, is old, but perfected. I don't miss the top screen the R5 or R or 5D has. Not at all. You see the things on the screen and in the viewfinder, so you don't need a top screen. Maybe I would subtract 5% for being too heavy.
Just by the sensor, you might expect very good quality. Maybe not the top shelf quality, but very good. By the three lenses I've tried, it's very hard to make any other assumptions because none of these was the top shelf lenses. So we'll have to explore this a little bit more. But as a kit, it was good, usable.
So 95%. Else it's very good. Very good. The lens. I would like 70%. It's good. It gets you where you need to be. For commercial use, I would probably use different lenses, like these smaller zooms with fixed aperture like f4 or f2.8 or primes. It's not for everyone, but it's a people's lens. Like, comment, subscribe for another videos, maybe for review of this camera 6700 from Sony.